My name is Jidebek Kazaknur, and I'll be serving as your moderator today. I am pleased to welcome you to in our video conference on topic economic crisis management in conditions of turbulent environment. The global economy is currently facing a major set of new challenges. We realize that it affects our country too, and the purpose of today's conference is to discuss the crisis management of the national economy. And I hope that by the end of the conference, we would be able to develop some recommendations in this field. Participants of today's conference are the teaching staff of Higher School of Economics and Business, master and PhD students, and our foreign partners from Spain, Turkey, and Russia. First, let me introduce you our participants. Igor Fernandez Platzeola, building engineer, lecturer of the Technical University of Valencia, Spain. Second, Raksılykova Gulzira Kinjikulovna, professor of Kastamonu University, Turkey. Shunina Olga Alexandrovna, head of the Academic Mobility and International Programs Department, Altai State University, Russia. Toktabayeva Aygerim, credit analyst at ATF Bank, a graduate of Bolashak program. Nurgali Aygul, master student of Kazakh National University. Now, let's begin our conference, and let me give a word to Igor Fernandez. Please, Professor.
Good afternoon to all of you. Thanks a lot for the first time for KAFNU for giving me this opportunity to share a little bit about crisis management. In my case, I'm going to speak a little bit about the case, or a little bit, not completely, about the case of Spain. So I will try to show you what's been going on over the 8 last years and how are we trying to manage to get off the crisis, because we are still in but in a different way. So just in order to remember, by 2007 approximately, from the beginning of 2000 to 2007, Spain was really growing fast. GDP was almost double by 2007 than from 2000. And the country was growing about 2%, 3% in economical figures. CPI, the Consumer Product Index, was about 2-3% as well. And we were almost in non-unemployment at all. We had a technical unemployment of 6%, which for Spanish figures it has been the best employment figure. 6% is almost declared as technical non-unemployment at all in Spain, because there's been historically a bit of black market. Okay, so those were really big figures. So there were big incomes in the country. Government were doing big incomes because of taxes, because of revenues from all the little towns, because mainly the construction sector and the tourism sector were running really fast and really good. So the country was developing really fast. But in 2000, by the end of 2007, 2008, we remember, it became the huge world financial crisis, mainly due to the rubbish loans of Lehman Brothers and Merrill Lynch. And this big strike affected us, Spain, quite a lot. So the main cause of the Spanish crisis were two of them. First of all, the financial crisis. And second, the housing bubble we were in. Prices in Spain for the housing were really high. Interest rates were under 5%, so they were not low, but not high. They were affordable for people. And the housing bubble was really strong. Everyone buying houses and selling houses, a big market. Lots of foreigner people were investing in Spain that time. And suddenly the financial crisis came. And the main problem was that the banks, Spanish banks, they changed the rules from one day to another to everyone in the country. So suddenly, everyone could have a credit, and next day, by the beginning of 2008, no one had a credit. So you could not ask for a credit, no bank would give you money, and that for the private investors. But according to companies, it was exactly the same. So all the credit lines you had negotiated as a company to be able to have cash in your drawers, in your accounts, they were just closed. So you, from one day to another, you went to the bank and you said, can you advance me, please, from my credit line this money I need to pay for my workers? And the answer was no. But okay, I manage, I deal a credit line with you, yes, but things have changed, the world is changing, and we cannot give you money. So even though corporations and companies, they had a lot of money in paper money, there was no cash and there was no credit. So from one day to another, just speaking like in 2 months' time, the rules of banking changed in the country. And this deal the country to have no credit and have no cash. So lots of companies had simply to close because they couldn't pay salaries. They had money, but in paper. They couldn't advance cash as we advanced a couple of months ago. So this became a big wheel, no credit, no salaries being paid, no taxes income, closing companies, unemployment. So in 2008 and the beginning of 2009, the bubble of housing, the building bubble, exploded. By that time, Spain had two big sectors. The first one has been always tourism, but that time, second one was the building sector. The building sector, housing sector was about almost 25% of the GDP, but was 40% of unemployment. And these two figures just break down. So the housing building sector is a sector that drags the whole country. When you buy a house, building it takes a lot of material, a lot of labor market, but after it, you need every single thing to fill up houses. So it needs transportation, needs furniture, needs electronics, needs blankets, needs seats. So the building sector really drags, it's a dragging sector. So if the building sector, the housing sector fails, not in my country, in every country, the country has a problem because it's a dragging sector. Okay, so this sector stopped, really stopped in 5 months. It was completely stopped. No one was building, no constructors, no promoters, so no unemployment. Unemployment went from 7% approximately in 2007 till 26, 27%. We lost 5 million employments in just a couple of years. The GDP decreased 25%, and the housing price decreased more than 40% all around Spain. There are places that even 60%. So if we could see just some figures, can we show the figure number 1, please? Just in order to see the importance of this data, I'm just telling you that's the GDP of Spain. In 2000, from beginning of 2000 till 2007, you can see it increased almost to double from nearly 600 to 1,500, okay? And from that point up to today, it's been decreasing almost about 25%, those in millions. We can see the next one. We can see the variation through the years. So at the beginning of 2008, you can clearly see the huge disease we had in the GDP product. Spanish figure is the red one, and the other two are European countries, 27 and 16. So at the beginning of 2009, we were declared in recession, and we have been in recession up and now almost till 2014, more or less, with lots of fluctuations due to European policies. And this affected, we can see figure number 3, please. This is the unemployment tax. So we can see at the beginning of 2007, we were around 8%, 7%. That was almost no unemployment in Spain. And it rose up to more than 25%. It didn't get to 27 in Spain. And nowadays, in the beginning of 2016, we are around 20% still. One important thing about unemployment is that out of those 25%, 50% of it was young unemployment. So 50% of the young students coming out of university, 50% of them were completely unemployed. They couldn't even start to work after they have been out of high school. Okay, so the economic crisis, public social services suffered a lot of costs because all the revenues to the government were almost nothing. No revenues, no taxes from all the housing incomes, so all this decreased, so every little town hall and the central government reduced their revenues in thousands of millions. So the economic crisis came to social service cut. So lots of public social services like education, like health, like justice, like defense, they had huge cuts in their budgets. There were lots of lays-out sacks of people, all the temporary staff from the government and all the public staff, the civil servants, all of them were, all the temporary ones were laid off. And the public debt in Spain at the beginning of 2007, it was about 40% of the GDP. Nowadays, we have 100% of debt to GDP. So we have rose from 40 to 100% of the debt in just 6 years. I'll tell you later why. So, economic crisis, public social services cuts, banking working conditions completely changed from one day to another. No credit, massive unemployment, house evictions because no unemployment, no money, families couldn't pay for their loans. So the banks started to take people off their houses because they couldn't pay. Even though in Spain, the constitution gives you the right to have a house. So this was a big fight. So all this became in what? In social riots. I mean, people started to demonstrate in the street, doing riots, and starting to argue and discuss about the country. Because everyone had cuts in our life. All of us, we had cuts. All Spaniards had, instead of politicians. Politicians kept with their high quality living. So this all created the so-called 15th M social movement, which has been quite followed all over the world. Even though through all these years, 300,000 Spaniards had to leave the country. From 2000 till 2008, we received inside Spain 5 million immigrants, people coming all over the world to come to Spain because we had very good figures. But from 2009 till 2015, we have lost 300,000 of very high qualified young people that have been studying in Spain because of our educational system, but now they're working and paying taxes somewhere around, but not in Spain. And this is still going on like that. So all this became in street mobilizations, riots, and asking 2 or 3 new political parties rose up, representing young people and people that was really fed up with all the system. This became to, we have been 1 year with no government, 360 days to be exact. It's been like 2 weeks ago that at the end we've got the same government we had. And all this is because of the crisis. So all these social movements, social things, all these changes, the renewal of the democratic life in Spain is due to the first thing that happened, that was a financial crisis. So how did we manage the solutions of the crisis, if we can say we did? First of all, in 2009, we started recession, as you have seen. And in 2009, 2010, the government tried to improve the building sector or the construction sector. How did it spend a lot of money? That's why the debt, the Spanish debt, grew from 40% to 100%. They tried to activate again the construction sector, but it didn't work. By that time, it was too late. The banks were not giving credit, and even though the country, the government spent a lot, we needed the banks, and they didn't follow this thing. So the public debt just increased. Another thing it was done by the European Commission was to decrease the euro interest rates almost to 0, even to negative figures. At the beginning, 2009-10, it didn't work. It's been working right now. So due to the investment and due to the decrease of the interest rates, the crisis is starting to finish. And all this created, another thing we managed is that obviously we had a 40% of decrease in the price of housings, plots, and everything related to construction. Who were the biggest owners of plots and housings? Banks at that time. So what happened? the balance sheet of the banks were really trapped because the value they used to have for the plots and housings decreased 40%. What did we do? The country, the government created we call it a bad bank. We called a bad bank, that bank is called Sareb, and this bad bank admitted or bought all these bad plots, bad housings, bad loans. So all the bad actives went into this bad bank. So the good banks could clean their balance sheets, and we only had one bad bank. This bad bank needed funding from the European Union, more than 100 million euros, which we have to give back. We don't know how. And after that, another solution to the crisis were all the social cuts. So I've said social cuts in education, in health, in justice, in research, no research at all, in defense, but not affecting politicians. Another way we managed the crisis was with the marketing rules change. So now the way you deal with the banks is completely different as it was. So as in conclusion, we can say we had a strong economic downturn. We had a huge unemployment, 25% more than bankruptcies of companies. So there's a fight here. There's people saying that more than 200,000, but there are other data telling about 2 million companies closed. 200,000 to 2 million. It's around 500,000. They are still closed. Big companies managed to save the crisis going abroad and winning huge international contracts as the Panama Channel, as the Germany air traffic control, as the high-speed train to Medina La Mecca, and running airports. Those big companies, what happened with the small ones? The only ones who could survive were the only ones that could improve their exportations. Immigration changed from 5 million people coming in to 300,000 young Spaniards going away, but the social crisis is still running on. Employment is still about 20%. Quality life in Spain has really decreased, and immigration is really changing the country. So the only thing I would like just to say is that we should think that apart from all those big crisis figures, all this is a challenge. Every challenge, a life without challenges is a routine. A routine is one of the worst things for innovation, and without innovation, we cannot come out of the crisis. So we should see the crisis as an opportunity to improve challenges, stop with the routine, and innovate, which at the end we think is the only way of getting off the crisis.
Thank you very much for this very informative and interesting presentation. Does anyone have any questions? I'd just like to add something. We visited Spain 3 years ago in 2013. Actually, we had some lectures in Barcelona. So we were told that the unemployment rate among young people is nearly 41%, if I'm not mistaken. And it was quite shocking for us. And how this situation changed? So unemployment rate among young people. So did you solve this problem? Or?
It's still a big problem. I don't know the figures up to now. It rose, it became down 50% of young people, like we are now in November, like before summer. So before summer, it came down 50%. So maybe now it's 45 or something like that. It's completely, the country cannot afford that. So you've been forming people, educating people to work. And what happens with these people? I mean, you finish your studies, you have no work. You work as a waiter, or you go abroad. But if you don't work in what you have been studying for, 1 year after, what can you do? You have lost almost everything you learned. And 2 years after, and 3 years after, because we have been 8 years. So what's going on with all these people that have been 5 years without working in what they are prepared to? If I'm a company, who do I prefer to employ now that I can employ? One of these that have been 8 years, 7 years, 6 years without working in what they're prepared as engineers, as chemists, as doctors, as nurses, as teachers? Or do I employ someone who has just finished studies now? So we are speaking about a lost generation.
It's really sad. And another question. We visited Barcelona, as I said before, it's in Catalonia. Yeah. So we noticed that there is some rebellious mood among local people because they complained that tourism sector is really good in Barcelona and all revenue your government spread to other rural areas. So they really was angry about that. So what can you tell us?
Well, that's the main reason Catalonians say about why they want to be independent from Spain, which is in the really depth of your question. So this is really, really hard and very, very, very long to answer, even in Spanish. I mean, we have big discussions. They are right. I mean, they get less of what they offer to Spain. But we live in a social country and we should share. So getting in data, I can tell you that they are right. They get less of what they offer to Spain. So Spain takes more from them of what the country gives back to them. And Spain takes from Catalonia and gives to poor areas. Of course, if you live in one of these poor areas, it's very easy to say, okay, I don't do nothing and I get money. It's a big discussion, really deep and really difficult, even in my own language. But the actual is true. They receive less than what they give. So we start talking about social care. Is this fair? It is not. Even though they are one of the most richest communities in Spain. And we will see what happens with all this.
Okay. Thank you very much for your answer. Now let's proceed to our second speaker. Please, Toqtabayeva Aygerim. I'm sorry, can you turn on your microphone?
Good day. Are you hearing me right now? Yes?
No. Yes, please continue.
Okay. Nice to meet you all. Okay, thank you very much, Professor, for your presentation. It was very interesting. I'm going to begin my presentation as it has a direct connection with my work. I'm working as a credit analyst in a bank, in ATF Bank. So glad to meet you all. So it is my presentation. My work will be very particular based. So application of financial analysis in the condition of crisis management. Okay, the next slide. Can you please? Okay. I have what I have done in this work. I have made some financial analysis, and I have, as an example, I took companies that have listings in Kazakhstan stock exchange, Astel Telecommunication Services company. So I have analyzed it and see what the advantage, disadvantage of this company, and what can we further can suggest for its further improvement. Okay, next slide. This is basically a very particular based presentation. So the basic companies shareholders, I put shareholders. So there are 3 shareholders. The third one with the last part, it is he has some privileged shares in the company. So it's Astel Kazakhstan, and we can see that Astel Kazakhstan have 4 companies. It owns 4 companies in Tajikistan, in Russia, in Kyrgyzstan, and also one company, TAU-TV in Kazakhstan, which mainly is broadcasting television programs. So all these companies, they provide telecommunication services. Okay, next slide. Can you please? So this is a brief information of the analyzed company. Astel, it is very popular telecommunication company in Kazakhstan. It is one of the competitor of Kazakh Telecom JCS in Kazakhstan. So Astel provides a broad, wide range of satellite and wireless communication, broadcasting, and so on. And one basic, specification of this company, it provides some satellite connections. So it also lists some telecommunication channels, satellite capacities, and so on. So the basic, the next slide, please. Okay, next slide. So basically what we can see here is a map of Kazakhstan. There is a network provision area in Kazakhstan. So we basically can see that Astel it provides network services around the Kazakhstan. It covers all the regions of Kazakhstan. And here we see, so Astel, it has developed its own transmission backbone in Kazakhstan, Kaznet. So according to that Kaznet, it provides telecommunication and connection services in Kazakhstan. Okay, next slide. Okay, there's basically consumers of Astel JCS. What's the basic differences of its main competitor of Kazakh Telecom JCS? Basically, Kazakh Telecom JCS, it has how to say, a large companies as its clients, yeah. But basically, Kazakh Telecom clients, it's how to say, personal people. That from Astel, it is basically companies, yeah. So corporate companies. So basically, they're divided as oil companies. So there is the first circle you can see: CNPS, Aktobe-Munaygas, Constance Oil, Petrokazakhstan, and so on. And the next one, it is governmental agencies, ministries, so Ministry of Internal Affairs, Ministry of Defense, and so on. And the next one, it's a bank. Our bank is also one of the clients of Astel JCS, so it's provide telecommunication services and connect all the banks, how to say, all the banks subsidiaries around the Kazakhstan provide the services. The next one, it is international company, so I put only several here: Philip Morris, Helios, Danone. And the last one, it is also governmental companies, Kaspost and General National Pension Fund. Okay, the next slide. So the basic competitors, as I said, so the Kazakh Telecom, Gaztranscom, Transtelecom, KSL, and other mobile operators. What I want to say, Astel JCS market share in Kazakhstan market of general telecommunication services, it's not so big. It's about 10% or something. But in provision of satellite communications, it has about 40% market share. Okay, next slide. So basically, this is very specific. I have done the analysis of the balance sheet of this company, which that's very related to my work, what we have doing every day. So I'm sorry for the Russian version of assets and liability side, because the company doesn't have an English version in Kazakhstan Stock Exchange website. So basically, we can see long-term assets and current assets. So according to the specification of the company, the basic weight of the company takes the long-term assets at about 44% in 2016. And also we can see what we can see here is that the how to say, long-term assets weight, they're basically on their stable position. So there is basically the satellite equipment, and also equipment cables and so on, and also the current assets. There is some inventories, and what there is some a little fixed parts for the equipment, and also we can see the large portion takes 20%. 20% takes accounts receivable because they are working with their clients. They provide some, how to say, days for the clients to pay. All right. And what we can see overall, according to this analysis, that the accounts receivable, it has increased in 2016 by 56%, which is like a not good figure for the company, but it is also some basic explanation for this. As they provide the services to the governmental agencies, to the government agencies, ministries. So from 2016, there was the rule adoption that all the ministries should work according with one operator, Kassatnet. No, and this Kassatnet, financing of this Kassatnet, if it was before one time in a month. Right now it is one time in a quarter. So that's why the accounts receivable has prolonged in the, how to say, so it has increased, that's why. Also, overall, we can see that the capital is stable. So in 2016, it's about 5.7 billion tenge. So a little bit decreased compared to 2015, but they overall have some practice of paying dividends. Okay, next slide. Okay, here we can see the liability side. The liability side, basically, they don't have long-term liabilities. Overall, what we can see, the company overall is financially stable because it doesn't have dependence on the debt. Because they basically, they have, for example, debt in a bank in a form of a letter of guarantee. Yes, they work as a letter of guarantee with their suppliers because like suppliers need some guarantee from them in order like, and also in order to participate in the tenders, in the government tenders, the beneficiaries as the Ministry of Defense of Internal Affairs, they every year they buy equipment from Astel, yeah, telecommunication equipment in order like to supply, how to say, in order like to supply the army of Kazakhstan. So they buy some equipment, and so the beneficiaries of these ministries, they require some letter of guarantee from this client, okay? So, but overall, besides these liabilities, they have some accounts payable with their suppliers, which is basically in one level, about 7% of overall balance. And we can see that's a little bit decreasing in 2016 share price from 26 million, from 26,000 tenge to 24,000 tenge. So we see a little bit decrease. Okay, next slide.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry for interrupting you. Let me remind you about time limit, please.
Okay, I will be quicker, sorry. Here we can see the income statement. So overall, the income statement, what I wanted to say according to this presentation, that their balance sheets, that asset side, they are overall, they are okay, yeah, so the company is stable. But overall, in 2016, we have seen in the news and so on that the Kazakhstan market of telecommunication, it's right now is like it's a glut. It is in the market, so we can see a little bit downturn in the market. But like in 2016, here we can see that their sales have increased a little bit compared to 2015, and overall there is a stable position. Okay, next slide. Okay, so there is a profitability ratios. Okay, so overall we can see that the gross margin, profit margin on one level, and there is a stable position. Next slide. Okay, here we can see there was some little bit decrease in the current ratio, quick ratio part. So like because of the, as I mentioned before, because of the accounts receivable that it has prolonged in its terms, so they have a little bit stuck there. So like the current ratios, they show a little bit decreasing. So and also we have seen that working capital have a little bit decreased. Next slide. Okay, sales dynamics. According to the sales dynamics, despite in 2016, half year 2016, we see a little bit increase. But overall, if we compare 2016 with 2015, if we can prognose 2016 sales, so it would be less than 2015 sales. So overall, we can see that there is a downturn in economics, that it has also impacted the sales of its company. Okay, next. Next slide. Okay. Conclusion. Okay. I wanted to make a conclusion. So there is a positive trend in sales, and the company overall shows the growth of profitability. But we also see that the negative factors as the decrease in their ratios, in the current ratio. Okay. The coverage of their liabilities, and also the basic disadvantage of the company. We see that there is a dependence of the company to foreign exchange risk, because their purchase of equipment and supplies of communication services, it is in a foreign currency, so their contracts are in foreign currency. So also that's why their cost increases, and also volatility of income and margin on contracts for supply of equipment, because like supply of equipment, according to the different work, there is a different, margin on contracts, so they have volatility in this part. So also reduced receivables turnover, and we overall, if we prognose 2016 sales according to its half year, we will see that there will be a decrease in sales overall. Okay, the next. So recommendation for improvement, as there is a little bit what recommendation I have done. So working with domestic suppliers, so they can replace their foreign suppliers with domestic. So basically their foreign suppliers were like, I don't remember right now the name, some company which provides telecommunication equipment from foreign. So right now there is Kassat, the domestic operator of satellite equipment, so they basically can buy the equipment from them. Then also what I have done, they can expand the provision of their services. So basically they can provide more services of Telecom, and then expansion of their consumer bases, and what they can do, so accounts receivable, the department for collection of accounts receivable, which should work and collect the accounts receivable more quickly in order to make their current assets to turn more to liquid assets, and in order to make it more quickly to turn into cash. Okay. I think that's all. Next slide. So it would be end of the presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. That's it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Aygürüm. Dear participants, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Hello, this is Igor from Spain speaking.
Okay.
I'm here in Kazakhstan. I mean, I would like just to, I'm curious about this, the figures, the ratio figures you have shown, the ROE one, as far as I remember, it was between 5%, 8% of ROE back to the company. Is that figure normal in this sector? I don't know this sector, telecommunication sector, I don't know it at all. And I would like to know if ROE...
return on equity, yeah?
Yeah, the return of maybe 5%, 8%, is that normal in that sector?
Yeah, it is normal overall. It have variation from overall like about from 8 to 15% or something. So it is okay. It is okay. So it is generally based because each company will have different base of their assets. So these companies overall have a huge amount. So they basically finance their operations through their equity. So like that's why their ROI it's not like so big. So comparing maybe to other companies, but it's overall like it's a normal figure for this industry because we have similar companies here with such amount of assets. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's proceed to our next speaker. Nurgali Aygul, a master student of Al-Farabi Kazakh National University.
Good afternoon. My theme is not directly related to the conference theme, but anyway, I want to talk about ways to increase competitiveness of enterprises in the conditions of innovative development. So innovations in the enterprises is a form of manifestation of scientific and technical progress at the micro level. They promote updating of product range and decreasing of its quality for the purpose of consumers' requirement satisfaction and the profit maximization of the organization. So when it comes to innovations, they can be classified by a number of signs, but on the degree of new ideas capacity, it's subdivided into 3 types. First of all, it's radical innovations. So it means essentially new products and technologies. They raise a few and generally assume appearance of the new consumer and the new market. And second is combinatory innovations. It's a new combinations of already known elements. They can be directed to attract new customer groups or development new markets. And third, it's modifying innovations. They are basically directed for improvement or as an addition of the existing products. So nowadays, innovations became main tool of the competition not only for countries, but enterprises also consider innovations as the main lever of economic development. The competition promotes, first of all, its intensive use of scientific and technical achievements and application of modern methods and tools of the organization. And the integration into the world economy, like globalization, it scientifically broadens the field of competitive struggle, forcing the companies to compete with leaders of the world market. And in these conditions, providing a strong growth becomes the main problem of the companies and the main object of their management. So because of it, many companies start to implement new innovative methods on organizational or management level. So innovative activities represent a process of, first of all, it's strategic marketing, and second, research and development, organizational and technical preparation of product, and the production and registration of new innovational ideas, and the commercialization of new innovation ideas. And to increase competitiveness based on innovative activities, it is necessarily to accurately formulate the purpose, and the second, to estimate the competitive capacity of the entity, and to reveal its strong and the weak sides, and to develop competitive strategy and actions for its implementation. And for this purpose, the entity needs to develop and realize the management concept of development, which will cover all planned, organized, and controlled change in the field of strategy, production, process, and structures of the company. And the development management, it consists in the components such as strategic planning and the procedures of the choice and implementation of priorities of financial policy of the company. And the third is ensuring development of the institutional and the technological and scientific and technical capacity and the stimulation of technological development. And innovative development, it implies an organized innovative system. And the innovative system generally means that the elements of the organization combining innovative activities and also relation between these regulating documents of the entity, such as the charter or regulations of divisions or job descriptions. And the innovative system of any enterprise should carry out the following functions. First of all, it's a market forecasting and the choice of the priority direction of researchers. Second is strategic planning of innovative activities, and the searching, assessment, and selection of innovative ideas and inventions, and the implementation of innovative projects. And the last, monitoring indicators of already implemented innovative projects in their adjustment. And also it should be noticed that an important feature of in development and implementation of innovative projects, it's played time, which is the main criteria for evaluation and competitiveness of the entities now. So innovative and sustainable development of enterprises depends on how successfully they will be able to predict threats of technological and functional replacement. So technological replacement, it means that enterprises does not have to produce goods by the old or existing methods due to invention of more effective methods that can be used by competitors. And the functional replacements is an emergence of new product instead of the old one, a product which will carry out existing functions, but at more high level. And the results of this research supports the idea that business competitiveness is a possibility of effective economic activity in its practical, profitable implementation of the conditions of the competitive market. And the maintains the high level of competitiveness is provided with all components of the innovative marketing and the innovation management, which are available for the entity at that moment, and the production and effective sale of competitive of goods and services, a generation indicator of the enterprise's resilience and its ability to effectively use production, scientific, technical labor in their financial potential. So it basically was a brief introduction of the innovative activities at the enterprises.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have questions? If no, thank you, Aygul. Unfortunately, it seems like our Russian and Turkish partners have some technical difficulties, so they couldn't join us today. And I think we're going to finish and summarize our conference. If you have any comments or, I don't know, words? Okay, I would like to thank all of our participants for joining us today, and I also suggest to use the gglobal platform in the future as a virtual communication platform and share your knowledge and experience. Thank you for all of you. Have a nice day and goodbye.